light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty. It doesn't reset anything. It eliminates everything.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel again today. So we've got a pretty serious topic to talk about, and it's got to do with American trucks. On my channel, we aren't that serious most of the time. We have some good old fun. I do like to educate people a lot on my channel regarding different things, how to do things, all that sort of stuff. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It does help a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Put a lot of effort into my videos, and it'd be great to see you back here watching future videos. Moving on to the topic of today. So my history with American trucks, bought my truck 2017. I grew up in American trucks. My old boys had heaps of F trucks. That's what I would ride around in all the time. So we've had a lot of experience with American trucks in my family in general. My parents have a Ram 2500. My friends have Chevys. And yeah, so I've got a good understanding of American trucks. My missus is from the US, and I've spent a lot of time in America, so I have a lot of experience around American trucks in general to be able to comment on this topic and what's actually happening. There is some legislation between Australia and America, and our two countries really aren't aligned at the moment, and it's disappointing to see. And Australia is on this very green wavelength, and America is on this completely different wavelength, and I think that those two things are going to clash, and we may unfortunately be seeing the end of the American trucks being imported into Australia. And it's very sad to see, and it may be pressing me to buy a new truck sooner rather than later. And the whole market here in Australia over the past, I'd say decade, has really grown, especially in the last 5 years, I'd say. There has been such an influx of American trucks and the Australian people adopting American trucks because they're just so much better at doing things that we want to do here, whether it's heavy towing or having the complete setup with a kitchen sink or whatever you would like to do. This is my third generation of building my truck. I bought my truck in 2017, and I've constantly revamped it and changed it, and just recently I've almost finished rebuilding it. So I know this thing inside and out. But to see the Australians adopt American trucks and businesses purely basing their whole structure around just working on American trucks is fantastic. And I love to see how much this market has exploded in Australia. But I'm concerned that it's going to be coming to an end here very shortly. So let's go over what's actually going on and where my concerns lie. And I want to know in the comments, especially from you guys, if you're into American trucks or you're considering buying one. We're able to pull information from sort of all directions and have really good discussions down in the comments than just sort of me doing it on my own to try and research all this stuff. So I've done a fair bit of research into this to find out what's happening. So here, I really think that Ram sort of hit the ground running really hard in Australia when they first introduced their trucks with the 1500, moved into the 2500s, 3500s, and really set the base here for American trucks. And I think other manufacturers like Chevy and Ford kind of just sat back and just watched to see what would happen and see the adoption. So give everyone a taste of the Rams, and then Chevy come on pretty hard with their 1500s and their 2500s and so forth. Then Ford's come onto the market now with their F-150. Whether they will move into bringing in the F-250s, we don't know. I would love to see a factory-backed option from Ford in the F-250 range, F-350, even up to 450 for commercial fleets and stuff like that. I think that'd be fantastic. But so they've slowly pushed out the American trucks here in Australia, and they've been very well adopted. Where these things are going to start to shift and change is due to the Australian legislation and also the American legislation. Australia, with its new vehicle efficiency standards, is unfortunately anything under 4.5 tonne, and I've got some notes here that I'm going to read from. So this year, June or July 2025, the Australian government has introduced its new vehicle efficiency standards. So what that means is that, otherwise known as the ute tax that we've all been hearing about, essentially anything from 0 up to 4.5 tonne will fall under this legislation and need to comply when it comes to the efficiency of the vehicle or emissions and everything that's written in that legislation. So essentially, the 1500 range comes into that. So like your Ford F-150, Chevy 1500, they all fall under that new category of the vehicle efficiency standards. But the HD trucks, so the 2500s, 3500s, whether it's Ford, Ram, Chevy, they're spared from that legislation here in Australia. That's a good thing, but it's also, there's a shady area right now with the US legislation to where things are going to start to clash. So essentially what they're trying to do in America right now is they're trying to eliminate everything, as you've seen from that clip earlier in the video. They're trying to reduce those things so that way they can kind of don't have to have as much emissions controls and stuff on their vehicles. American trucks that are being imported into Australia may necessarily not actually have emissions controls on them anymore, and therefore they're not going to meet Australia's legislation. We kind of run on Euro 6, so we have strict emissions controls here when it comes to those vehicles, when it comes to the HD trucks. So DPFs, AdBlue, those sorts of things is what we need. So in America, if they're not putting those things and they're implementing those from the factory on the trucks, ultimately that's going to affect them being imported here into Australia. And then I was thinking, well, the 1500s may be okay because they're petrol and they may be fine with that. But the thing is if they're eliminating any sort of emission stuff on even the 1500s, then they won't meet Australia's new efficiency standards potentially, and they'll also be banned from coming into the country because of the new legislation that was introduced this year. So getting into the technical details and the fine print and things like that is where we need to do more digging on this to see where we're going to end up. So if America ends up saying, righto, well, F-250s, for instance, they no longer need EGRs or DPFs, well then our 2022 regulations here in Australia, they won't comply. And that goes for Ram, Chevys, Fords, it goes for the whole lot of them. And then if our ute tax, otherwise known as new vehicle efficiency standards here in Australia, if the 1500s don't also comply because any emissions controls on those things have been wound back and they don't comply with the Australian legislation here, then this might just be the end of the American trucks being imported into Australia. And it's sad to say that. And it's kind of pressing me to want to buy a new truck sooner than later, because it may just come to the point where manufacturers in America say, okay, well, we don't need a DPF anymore, so we're not going to be fitting them from the factory because the legislation in America doesn't require it. So they're not going to bolt things on they don't need. And newer vehicles like 2027, 2028 American trucks may not have the emissions equipment on them that we need here in Australia to meet those 2022 regulations that we have here, which is like the Euro 6 and stuff like that, to where you have to have DPF and AdBlue and those sorts of things. So I'm quite concerned about this, and because there's been a lot of businesses that have started here in Australia that have built their reputation around building American trucks, doing amazing work on American trucks. The amount of people that they've gotten into an American truck and absolutely love it and will never go back to a normal sort of dual cab ute. So it's like, where is this going to leave us all if the trucks aren't no longer coming into Australia because of these two legislations from each country clashing? America sort of not really deregulating, but winding back the such strict protocols that they have from the EPA over there to where they may not need what we need here. And sure, you could bring one of the trucks over to here and you could fit emissions equipment to it, but how much is that going to add to the cost of the truck? And then you've got to tune it into the truck. Like it's so much better when the manufacturer does those sorts of things, because it's built to work on the truck and it's integrated into the truck. And unfortunately, I just can't see people wanting to spend that much on them putting all this emissions equipment onto their vehicles once they come from America. And who's to say that the government just doesn't outright ban them? Because if they're not going to pass, if America changes the legislation over there, they no longer have DPFs, AdBlue, things like that on their heavy-duty trucks, Australia may just say, well, unless it has that stuff from the factory, it's not coming into the country. So I have some major concerns around this, and that, yeah, I really want to open the conversation with you guys down in the comments as to anything that yous might know or any research that yous have done. I might have to buy a new truck sooner than later because I may not be able to get one. So yeah, between the new vehicle efficiency standards here in Australia and the 1500s being sort of caught up under that, America changing their legislation on with the EPA and emissions control equipment and stuff on the trucks, it's all kind of just happened recently. They've announced this sort of stuff, so who knows what's going to happen down the line. Who's to say that the trucks don't continue to run out with DPFs and stuff like that? We don't know, but I just thought I'd bring it to your attention today so you can have a think about it, and you may want to be buying that American truck sooner rather than later if you're looking to get one, and that way at least you're gonna get yourself into the seat of getting a new truck, and I'm considering that for myself as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot weighing on this, and unfortunately with Australia just being in a completely different direction to what the US is at the moment, this is where things clash, and different opinions between countries don't really work out, and it's going to be sad if the American trucks can't come into Australia. So that's all I've kind of got. I'm just going through my notes. That's all I really got to say today, guys. But yeah, comment below. What do you guys think of this? Where do you think it's going to go? What do you think is going to happen? Are you concerned about it? Do you think that I shouldn't be worrying about this? I don't know. I heard this come out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, wow, if that happens in America and we run under a stricter ruling here for emissions, and America's not going to have those rules, and they're going to be free to run without DPFs and stuff on their diesels, that may just be the end of them being imported into Australia. So anyway, that's all from me. I wanted to raise that topic with you today. And yeah, make sure you go check out my website, support the channel, so I continue to make videos like this. Grab a hat, shirt, something like that, hoodie. Even got patches on there now at the moment. So go and check that out. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you later.